Captain Hyanwu sat in his command chair aboard the UES Titan's Wrath. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. He looked out at the stars through the main viewing screen. Space was peaceful here in the Outer Rim territories. Too peaceful. His navigator Soman turned from her station. Her face showed concern. "Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission. It's encrypted with Earth's diplomatic codes." Hyanwu straightened in his chair. Diplomatic codes meant trouble. The Titan's Wrath was a patrol ship, not a diplomatic vessel. They handled smugglers and pirates, not political problems. "Put it through to my private channel," he ordered. The message began to play in his earpiece. The voice belonged to Ambassador Dalsu, Earth's representative to the outer colonies. But Dalsu sounded different. His voice was strained and frightened. "This is Ambassador Dalsu, transmitting from Valthic space. We are under attack. The Korthok Empire has invaded 3 Valthic systems. They have taken prisoners, including members of my diplomatic team. The situation is desperate." Hyanwu felt his blood grow cold. The Valthic were peaceful traders. They had no military to speak of. If the Korthok Empire was attacking them, it meant genocide. The message continued. "The Valthic government has requested immediate assistance from Earth. They need ships, any ships. The Korthok fleet grows stronger every day. Please respond as soon as possible." The transmission ended. Hyanwu stared at the wall of his ready room. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years, but humans were still outsiders. Most alien species feared them because Earth was classified as a death world. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too violent. The life forms were too aggressive. Humans had adapted to survive on a planet that tried to kill them every day. This made other species nervous. Engineer Teho appeared on his communication screen. "Captain, I monitored that transmission. Are we really going to get involved in an alien war?" Before Hyanwu could answer, Communications Officer the Jin spoke. Up from the bridge. "Sir, there's more. I'm receiving additional encrypted files from Ambassador Dalsu's last known position. Decode them and send them to my screen," Hyanwu ordered. What he saw made his stomach turn. The files contained video recordings from Valthic colonies under attack. Korthak warships bombarded cities from orbit. Civilians ran screaming through burning streets. Alien soldiers executed families in their homes. But worse were the images from the prison camps. Thousands of Valthic citizens worked as slaves in mining operations. Human diplomats sat in metal cages, beaten and starved. Ambassador Dalsu himself appeared in one recording. Barely recognizable after weeks of torture, Hyanwu had served in Earth's military for 20 years. He had seen combat against pirates and terrorists, but nothing prepared him for this level of cruelty. The Korthok Empire was known throughout the galaxy as conquerors. They came from a world with low gravity and mild weather. Everything was easy. For them, on their homeworld, they expected the same from their conquests. They attacked weak civilizations and enslaved the survivors. Navigator Soman entered his ready room. "Captain, what are your orders?" Hyanwu looked at the star charts on his wall. The Valthic systems were 3 days away at maximum speed. His ship carried a crew of 200. The Titan's Wrath was powerful by human standards, but it was just one ship against an entire empire. "Contact Earth Command," he said finally. "Send them everything we just received. Priority Alpha clearance." Soman nodded and left to carry out his orders. Hyanwu remained alone with the terrible images on his screen. The Valthic had asked for help. They probably expected a few patrol ships or maybe a diplomatic protest. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Earth's military doctrine was simple. Humans fought like their homeworld had taught them. Every battle was a struggle for survival. Every enemy was a threat to their existence. And every friend was worth dying for. The Korthok Empire thought they were dealing with another weak species. They were about to learn the difference between a civilized world and a death world. Engineer Teho returned to the bridge. "Captain, I've run diagnostics on all our systems. Weapons are at full capacity. Engines are running at optimal efficiency. If we're going to war, we're ready." Communications Officer the Jin looked up from her station. "Sir, I'm receiving acknowledgement. From Earth Command, they're reviewing the situation. Admiral Moonho wants to speak with you directly." The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Moonho appeared, his weathered face serious. Behind him, Hyanwu could see the bustling activity of Earth's Deep Space Command Center. "Captain the Admiral began, "I've reviewed Ambassador Dalsu's transmission and the evidence files. This is a clear act of aggression against human citizens and our allies." Hyanwu felt relief wash over him. Earth was going to respond. "What are your orders, sir?" he asked. Admiral Moonho's expression grew deadly serious. "Maintain your current position and monitor Korthok fleet movements. Do not engage unless directly threatened. The Pacific Fleet is being mobilized as we speak." The screen went dark. Soman turned to face her captain. "The Pacific Fleet. That's 12 heavy cruisers and 30 destroyers, plus the flagship Soul's Hammer." Teho whistled softly. That's the largest force Earth has ever deployed outside our own system. But Hyan-Woo was thinking about something else. He had served under Admiral Moonho for 10 years. He knew that. Look in the old man's eyes. The Admiral was planning something much bigger than a rescue mission. The Korthok Empire had made a critical mistake. They had attacked humans and their allies. They had shown the galaxy images of cruelty and genocide, and they had asked for Earth's help. Earth was going to give them exactly what they asked for, but not in the way they expected. As the Titan's Wrath maintained its patrol route, monitoring transmissions from Valthic space, Hyan-Woo wondered if the Korthok Empire understood what they had started. Humans were apex predators from a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years. They had survived ice ages and supervolcanic eruptions. They had endured plagues and asteroid impacts. They had fought wars that killed hundreds of millions and rebuilt stronger than before. The Valthic wanted help. They were about to get Earth's fury unleashed upon their enemies, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Moonho stood in the command center of Earth's deep space operations. Giant screens showed star maps and fleet positions across human space. Officers rushed between stations carrying urgent reports. The room buzzed with activity that had not been seen since the Martian Independence War 30 years ago. The Admiral studied the intelligence reports on his desk. The Korthok Empire controlled 42 star systems. Their military possessed over 3,000 ships of various sizes. They had been expanding for 2 centuries, conquering peaceful worlds and enslaving entire populations. But they had never faced humans before. Lieutenant Yun-Su approached with a datapad. She was Earth's leading expert on alien military psychology. Her report would help determine how Earth responded to this crisis. Admiral, I have completed my analysis of Korthok combat doctrine, she said. They are apex predators from a low-gravity world called Korthok Prime. Their homeworld has weak storms, mild temperatures, and small predators. Everything comes easy to them. Moonho nodded. What does this mean for our tactical planning? They fight like bullies, sir. They overwhelm smaller forces with superior numbers. They have never faced organized resistance from a species as aggressive as humans. Their psychology depends on quick victories and easy conquests. The Admiral smiled grimly. Humans were neither quick nor easy. A communication alert sounded across the command center. Fleet Admiral Jiate appeared on the main screen. He was calling from the military shipyards at Luna Station. Behind him, workers moved like ants across the hull of a massive warship. Moonho, the Fleet Admiral said, I have reviewed your deployment orders for the Pacific Fleet. 42 ships against a 3,000-ship empire. Are you planning to negotiate or fight? Admiral Moonho felt his jaw tighten. Jiate was old school military. He had commanded fleets during the worst conflicts in human history. The man understood only one language: overwhelming force. The Pacific Fleet is our immediate response, Moonho replied. We need to secure the Valthic systems and rescue our diplomatic personnel. Jiate shook his head. That is not how humans fight wars. We learned during the corporate wars that half measures lead to long conflicts. If Earth intervenes against the Korthok Empire, it must be decisive. The Fleet Admiral paused, then continued with steel in his voice. I am authorizing a full mobilization. Under War Powers Act, Section 7, every available ship, every trained crew, every weapon system we possess. Moonho stared at the screen. Section 7 had not been invoked since the alien first contact crisis 50 years ago. It meant total war mobilization. Sir, that level of response might be seen as excessive by the Galactic Council, Moonho said, carefully. The Galactic Council can file a complaint after we finish destroying the Korthok Empire. GIT replied. Send the mobilization orders. All fleet commanders, all system defense forces, all auxiliary vessels. The largest fleet in human history will answer the Valthic call for help. Across human space, the mobilization began immediately. At the Jupiter mining colonies, Supervisor Bioram received her orders with disbelief. Her cargo ship New Busan was being requisitioned for military service. Within hours, military engineers swarmed over the vessel, installing weapon systems and armor plating. You want me to turn my mining ship into a warship? She asked the lead engineer. Ma'am, your ship can crack apart asteroids. We are just giving it the ability to crack apart enemy vessels instead. Bioram watched as torpedo tubes replaced her mining lasers. Her cargo holds filled with ammunition instead of ore. The New Busan had never been intended for combat, but humans were experts at adapting tools for new purposes. At the Mars Flight Training Academy, Instructor Jin-Ho gathered his best pilots. The military needed atmospheric fighters modified for space combat. These small fast ships were designed to fly in planetary storms and hostile weather. Space combat would be almost easy by comparison. Cadets, Jin-Ho announced, you trained to fly in sandstorms and hurricanes. Now you will fly between the stars. Your mission is to protect the big ships and hunt enemy fighters. Young pilot Wu Jin raised his hand. Sir, our fighters were not built for long-range space operations, Ginho smiled. Then we will give you ships that can go the distance. Human engineering has never met a problem it could not solve. The mobilization continued across every human settlement. From the asteroid belt came heavy industrial ships, their mining equipment replaced with siege weapons. From the outer colonies came patrol vessels and system defense boats. Even civilian transports volunteered to carry supplies and reinforcements. Captain Hyjin commanded a commercial freight hauler called Lucky Dragon. Her ship normally carried consumer goods between Earth and the outer colonies. Now military quartermasters loaded her cargo holds with ammunition, spare parts, and medical supplies. Captain, her first officer asked, are we really going to war against an entire alien empire? Hyjin checked her navigation charts. The journey to Galactic space would take 2 weeks at maximum speed. By the time they arrived, the shooting would probably be over. We are not going to war, she replied. We are going to end one. Admiral Changman commanded the sole defense grid from his headquarters on Luna. Earth's home system bristled with weapon platforms, fortress stations, and patrol fleets. His job was to protect humanity's homeworld from any possible attack. But Changman was also preparing for the Korthok response. Intelligence reports suggested the Empire would strike at Earth itself once they realized the scope of human military deployment. Let them come. Sol System had defenses that would make the Korthok Empire regret ever learning about humans. Back at Deep Space Operations, Admiral Moonho watched the fleet reports pour in. 300 ships from across human space were converging on the staging area at Wolf 359. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, frigates, converted cargo ships, industrial vessels, mining platforms, and even some experimental warships that most people thought were just rumors. Lieutenant Yunsu approached with updated intelligence. Admiral, we have identified the Korthok fleet composition around Galactic Prime, 180 vessels under the command of Fleet Commander Vector. He has never lost a battle in 30 years of service. Moonho studied the tactical display. The Korthok fleet looked impressive on paper. Fast ships with advanced weapons and experienced crews. They had conquered dozens of worlds with similar forces, but they had never fought humans before. Send a message to Captain Hyanwu on the Titan's Wrath, Moonho ordered. Tell him the cavalry is coming, all of it. Across human space, the greatest fleet ever assembled prepared for departure. Industrial ships that could shatter moons, converted cargo vessels carrying enough ammunition to level planets. Fighters designed to survive in hurricane-force winds, and at the center of it all, the flagship Sol's hammer, bristling with weapons that had never been fired in anger. The Korthok Empire had asked for Earth's attention. They were about to receive far more than they bargained for. The galaxy was about to learn why humans called their homeworld a Deathworld, and why that made them the most dangerous species among the stars. Fleet Admiral Jiate stood on the bridge of Sol's Hammer as the massive fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. Around him, 300 ships of various sizes and configurations waited for his command. All ships, he announced over the fleet communication network. This is Admiral Gitte. The enemy believes they are fighting another weak species. The Hype are about to learn the difference between civilization and survival. Engage hyperspace drives. Time to remind the galaxy why humans are still alive. Fleet Commander Vacthor stood on the bridge of his flagship Conquest of Stars. Through the viewing ports, he could see the burning cities of Galactic Prime below. The invasion had gone perfectly. The Galactic had no real military, only a few patrol ships that his forces had destroyed in minutes. His fleet of 180 ships surrounded the planet like a metal cage. Korthok warriors moved through the cities below, collecting slaves and valuable resources. This conquest would bring great honor to the Empire. Commander, his tactical officer reported, we have completed the capture of the remaining Galactic government officials. The human diplomatic team is secure in the prison facility. Vacthor nodded with satisfaction. The humans had been an unexpected prize. Earth was known throughout the galaxy as a death world, but their military was weak. They rarely left their home system and had never intervened in galactic conflicts. Excellent work, Vacthor replied. Signal the other fleet groups. Tell them to accelerate their operations on the outer colonies. We want to control all Galactic space before the Galactic Council can organize a response. A communication alert sounded across the bridge. The sensor operator looked confused as she studied her displays. Commander, I am detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching our position. Large vessels, approximately 300 contacts. Vac turned to face the main viewing screen. Space began to ripple and distort as ships dropped out of hyperspace. But these were not the sleek, graceful vessels common to most galactic civilizations. The human fleet looked like it had been designed by engineers who expected everything to break. The ships were thick and angular, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. They moved with the heavy grace of predators, not the elegant dance of peaceful traders. 300 ships, Vacthor muttered. Impossible. Earth does not have that many military vessels. His intelligence officer checked her data files. Sir, our records show Earth's military consists of fewer than 100 ships. These must be converted civilian vessels. Vactor studied the approaching fleet. Many of the ships did look like converted cargo haulers and mining platforms. But they bristled with weapons and moved in perfect formation. This was no desperate rescue mission. This was an invasion force. Open a communication channel, he ordered. Let me speak to their commander. The main screen flickered to life. A human face appeared, weathered and scarred from years of military service. Fleet Admiral Gitte looked directly at Vactor with cold, calculating eyes. I am Fleet Admiral Gitte of the Terran Defense Force, the human said. You are illegally occupying Valthic space and holding human citizens prisoner. This is your only warning. Release all prisoners and withdraw from Valthic space immediately. Vactor almost laughed. These Deathworld primitives thought they could intimidate the Korthok Empire with their collection of converted cargo ships. Human, he replied, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Your pathetic fleet cannot challenge the might of the Korthok Empire. Surrender now, and I will allow you to return to your insignificant homeworld. Admiral Gite's expression did not change. You have 30 seconds to begin prisoner release procedures. After that, we will implement our standard first contact protocol. And what exactly is your standard protocol? Vactor asked with amusement. Complete elimination of hostile forces, Gitte replied. The communication ended. Va. Cathor stared at the blank screen for a moment, then turned to his weapons officer. All ships, prepare for battle. These humans need to learn their place in the galaxy. The Korthok fleet moved into attack formation. Their ships were fast and maneuverable, designed for hit-and-run tactics that had conquered dozens of worlds. Vactor had used these same tactics to defeat enemy fleets twice his size. Target their largest vessels first, he ordered. Once we destroy their command ships, the rest will scatter. The first Korthok attack wave consisted of 40 fast cruisers. They accelerated toward the human fleet, plasma cannons charging for maximum damage. These ships could destroy most enemy vessels with a single coordinated strike. The human response was immediate and devastating. Captain Wu Jin commanded the destroyer Inchin's Fury. His ship had been built to fight in the asteroid fields around Jupiter, where collisions with space rocks were a constant danger. The Korthok plasma fire that would have melted most ships barely scratched his hull. All weapons, engage targets of opportunity, Wu Jin ordered. Show them what Earth engineering looks like. The Inchin's Fury opened fire with weapons designed to break apart asteroids. The nearest Korthok cruiser simply disintegrated under the impact. Pieces of the ship scattered across space like metallic rain. Across the battlefield, the human fleet demonstrated why they had survived on a Deathworld for millions of years. Every ship was built to take damage and keep fighting. Every weapon was designed to destroy whatever it hit. Every crew member fought like their home was under attack. Tactical Officer Subin coordinated the battle from the flagship Soul's Hammer. Her displays showed the flow of combat across the entire engagement zone. The Korthok were fighting as individuals, each ship seeking its own glory. The humans fought as a single organism, every movement coordinated, every shot calculated. Admiral, she reported, Korthok Attack Wave 1 has been eliminated. Enemy casualties, 40 ships destroyed, 0 survivors. Our casualties, minor hull damage on 3 vessels. Fleet Admiral Giete nodded. Implement tactical pattern, Omega. All heavy units, prepare for main gun engagement. The Soul's Hammer turned its massive bulk toward the Korthok flagship. The main batteries charged with power drawn from the ship's fusion reactors. These weapons had been designed to crack open moons for mining operations. Today they would crack open enemy ships. Va. Cathor watched in horror as his fleet dissolved around him. Korthok ships that had conquered star systems were being destroyed by converted human cargo vessels. His fastest cruisers could not outrun human fighters that had been designed to fly in planetary storms. All units, fall back to defensive positions around the planet, he ordered. Use the orbital facilities as cover. But the humans had no intention of allowing a retreat. Captain Hyanwu led a squadron of destroyers in a flanking maneuver that cut off the Korthok escape route. The Titan's Wrath had been waiting for this moment since receiving the first distress call. This is for Ambassador Dalsu and every innocent civilian you murdered, he said, as his ship opened fire. The Soul's Hammer's main guns spoke with the voice of human fury. 3 Korthok heavy cruisers vanished in expanding clouds of plasma and debris. The remaining enemy ships tried to scatter, but human forces surrounded them on all sides. Engineer Bioram watched from the bridge of her converted mining ship New Busan. The vessel shook under the impact of enemy fire, but the armor held. Her ship had been built to survive asteroid impacts and solar storms. Korthok weapons felt almost gentle by comparison. Target the enemy command ship, she ordered. Let's finish this. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it ended, the Korthok fleet had ceased to exist. 180 ships had been reduced to drifting wreckage and emergency beacons. The few survivors broadcast surrender messages and pleas for mercy. Vactor found himself alone on his damaged flagship, surrounded by human warships. The beings he had dismissed as Deathworld primitives had destroyed his entire fleet without breaking formation. "Human fleet," he transmitted, "we surrender. Please show mercy to our survivors." Admiral Giete's face appeared on his screen once more. "You will provide the locations of all prison facilities and the status of all prisoners. You will order the immediate evacuation of all Korthok forces from Galactic space, and you will carry a message back to your empire." "What message?" Vakthor asked. "Tell them that Earth remembers its friends, and Earth never forgets its enemies." The first battle between humans and the Korthok Empire was over. But the war had just begun. Emperor Makran of the Korthok Empire sat on his crystal throne in the capital city of Korthok Prime. The news from Galactic space had shaken him to his core. An entire fleet group destroyed in less than 1 hour. 180 ships reduced. 2 space debris by these mysterious Deathworld humans. "Impossible," he muttered, reading the report again. "Vakthor was our finest commander. His fleet had conquered 12 systems without a single defeat." Fleet Admiral Zekvar stood before the throne, his usually confident demeanor replaced by grim determination. He had served the Empire for 40 years and had never seen a military disaster of this magnitude. "My Emperor, the humans have revealed their true strength. They are not the weak species we believe them to be. Their ships are built like their homeworld, designed to survive anything." Mokran slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. "I do not care how strong their ships are. The Korthok Empire rules 42 star systems. We command over 2,000 vessels. These humans have shown their entire fleet, and it numbers only 300 ships." Zekvar nodded slowly. "That is correct, my Emperor, but those 300 ships fight with coordination we have never encountered. They move as one mind, strike as one weapon. Then we will overwhelm them with numbers," Makran declared. "Mobilize every fleet group, every ship, every warrior. If they want a war with the Korthok Empire, we will give them total war." The Emperor's orders spread across Korthok space like wildfire. From 15 different star systems, battle groups received mobilization commands. The largest military force in Korthok history began to assemble. But Zekvar had studied the tactical reports from Galactic Prime. The humans had not fought like any other species in the galaxy. They had not sought glory or honor. They had simply and efficiently destroyed everything that opposed them. "My Emperor," he said carefully, "perhaps we should consider other options." The humans claimed they only wanted the release of prisoners and our withdrawal from Galactic space. Makran's eyes flashed with anger. "Are you suggesting the Korthok Empire negotiate with these primitives? We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We bow to no one." Zekvar fell silent. He had seen what happened to advisors who disagreed with the Emperor too forcefully. The Korthok strategy was simple and brutal. They would attack every human target simultaneously. Earth itself would face the largest fleet group, over 800 ships. Smaller forces would strike human colonies and outposts. The humans would be forced to split their fleet and be destroyed, piecemeal, on Earth. Admiral Changman stood in the Seoul Defense Command Center. Intelligence reports showed massive Korthok fleet movements throughout their space. The enemy was mobilizing everything they had. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we are detecting hyperspace signatures approaching from multiple vectors. The Korthok main fleet will arrive in 6 hours." Changman studied the defensive grid displays. Sol system bristled with weapons platforms, orbital fortresses, and defense ships. Earth had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. "Signal all defense stations," he ordered. "Implement Protocol 7. Turn the entire solar system into a killing field." Protocol 7 was Earth's ultimate defensive strategy. Every asteroid had been equipped with weapon systems. Every orbital platform could coordinate fire with every other platform. The space between planets became a maze of overlapping kill zones, but the real surprise was waiting in the outer system. Admiral Sunho commanded the Home Fleet Reserve, 40 ships that officially did not exist. They had been hidden in the asteroid belt for decades, waiting for an invasion that everyone hoped would never come. "All ships," Sunho announced. "This is what we trained for. The enemy believes Earth is defenseless. Let us educate them about human military planning." Meanwhile, the human task forces that had liberated Galactic space were not returning home to defend Earth. Instead, they were implementing Operation Ragnarok. Simultaneous strikes on every major Korthok military installation. Captain Ju commanded the stealth ship Ghost of Jeju. His vessel had been designed for reconnaissance missions in hostile space. Today, it would carry out the most daring mission in human military history. The Ghost of Jeju slipped through Korthok space using advanced cloaking technology. Junisio's target was the primary fleet yards at Korthok Prime, where the Empire built its largest warships. "Captain," his engineer whispered, "we are approaching the target system. Enemy patrols are heavy but predictable." Junesio nodded. "Deploy the antimatter charges according to plan. We want maximum structural damage to the shipyard facilities." The stealth ship moved like a shadow through the enemy system. Junisio's crew placed antimatter explosives at critical support points. Throughout the massive orbital shipyards, when detonated, the charges would create a chain reaction that would destroy the entire facility. At the same time, Captain Hyjin led a supply convoy toward the Korthok military depot at Zarian 5. Her cargo ships carried enough ammunition and spare parts to support the human fleet for months. But they also carried something else, experimental weapons that had never been tested in combat. All ships, maintain formation, she broadcast to the convoy. We are not just resupplying our forces. We are demonstrating human logistics capabilities to the galaxy. The Korthok had never faced an enemy that could supply its forces across multiple star systems simultaneously. Human cargo ships moved through space like schools of fish, protected by destroyer escorts and supported by mobile repair stations. Back in Sol System, the Korthok main fleet dropped out of hyperspace to find Earth's defenses ready and waiting. Fleet Admiral Zekvar expected to face a few orbital platforms and patrol ships. Instead, he encountered a defensive network that spanned the entire solar system. By the ancient gods, his tactical officer gasped. There are weapon platforms on every major asteroid. The humans have turned their entire system into a fortress. Zekvar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Earth's defenses were more extensive than anything in Korthok space. These humans had been preparing for war since they first encountered alien civilizations. All ships, attack formation, he ordered. We still have superior numbers. The siege of Earth began with a massive exchange of fire. Korthok plasma cannons struck orbital platforms that had been designed to survive asteroid impacts. Human weapons, built to mine planets and crack moons, tore through enemy ships like paper. Admiral Changman coordinated the defense from Luna Command. Every weapon in the solar system responded to his commands with computer precision. The Korthok fleet found itself fighting not just Earth's military, but the entire solar system itself. Enemy casualties mounting, his tactical officer reported. They are losing ships faster than they can advance. But the real shock came when Admiral Sunho's hidden fleet attacked from behind. 40 ships that should not have existed struck the Korthok rearguard with devastating effectiveness. Surprise, Sunho announced over the communication channels. Welcome to Earth's neighborhood. While the Korthok fleet wasted itself against Sol's defenses, Operation Ragnarok reached its climax. Captain Junisio's antimatter charges detonated simultaneously across Korthok Prime's orbital shipyards. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. A miniature sun that announced the destruction of the Empire's primary military production facility. Similar strikes hit Korthok installations across their space. Supply depots vanished in nuclear fire. Command centers went silent as human special forces disabled their communication arrays. Repair facilities found themselves under attack by ships that appeared from nowhere and vanished. Just as quickly, Transport Captain Hyde watched the tactical displays from her convoy command ship. Human forces were systematically dismantling the Korthok Empire's military infrastructure, while their main fleet was trapped at Earth. All ships, she announced, Phase 1 of Ragnarok is complete. The enemy's production capacity has been eliminated. Begin Phase 2, hunt down and destroy all remaining enemy fleet elements. The Korthok Empire was discovering the difference between fighting civilized species and fighting humans. Civilized species sought limited objectives and negotiated settlements. Humans fought until their enemies could never threaten them again. In Sol System, the siege continued for 3 days. But it was not really a siege. It was target practice. The Korthok fleet was being systematically destroyed by defenses they had never imagined possible. Fleet Admiral Zekvar found himself alone on his damaged flagship, surrounded by the wreckage of his invasion force. The humans had not just defeated his fleet, they had made it disappear. Open a channel to Earth Command, he ordered his communication officer. It is time to discuss terms. The hunting phase of the war was over. The Korthok Empire was about to learn what happened when humans decided a war was finished. 3 months had passed since the first distress call from Valthic space. The Korthok Empire that had once controlled 42 star systems and commanded thousands of ships now existed only in name. Their fleets were destroyed, their shipyards were ash, and their remaining forces were scattered across the galaxy like leaves in a storm. Emperor Mokran sat in what remained of his palace on Korthok Prime. The orbital bombardment had been precise and surgical. Human forces had destroyed every military installation, every weapons factory, and every government building. But they had left the civilian areas untouched. This precision terrified him more than random destruction would have. These humans killed with the cold efficiency of machines, but they chose their targets with careful deliberation. They were not mindless destroyers. They were apex predators who understood exactly what they were doing. My emperor, his aide whispered, the human fleet is requesting a response to their peace terms. Mokran looked at the document that had been transmitted to every surviving Korthok official. The terms were simple and absolute. Complete withdrawal from all conquered territories, release of all prisoners and slaves, reparations for damages caused during their expansion wars, and most humiliating of all, the dissolution of the Korthok military beyond simple system defense forces. Do we have any choice? Mokran asked bitterly. His aide shook his head. Sir, our intelligence reports show human fleets patrolling every former Korthok system. Their ships have not returned home. They are waiting for our answer. Through his palace windows, Mokran could see the Soul's Hammer in orbit above his world. The massive human flagship hung in space like a metal moon, its weapons trained on the planet below. Around it, dozens of smaller human vessels maintained a blockade that nothing could break. Send word to the humans, he said finally. The Korthok Empire accepts their terms unconditionally. Aboard the Soul's Hammer, Fleet Admiral Giate received the surrender message with satisfaction but no joy. Wars were not celebrations. They were necessary evils that humans excelled at finishing quickly. Signal all fleet groups, he ordered. The enemy has surrendered. Begin implementation of the occupation protocols. Across former Korthok space, human fleets took control of strategic systems. But this was not a conquest. The humans had no interest in ruling alien worlds. They wanted to ensure that the Korthok Empire could never again threaten peaceful civilizations. On Valthic Prime, Ambassador Dalsu stood in the rebuilt Capital Plaza. The Korthok occupation had lasted only 6 weeks, but the damage had been extensive. Human engineering teams had worked around the clock to repair the infrastructure and restore essential services. Ambassador Valthic Prime Minister, Valthic said, "Our people do not know how to thank humanity for what you have done." Dalsu smiled as he watched human and Valthic children playing together in the plaza. The sight reminded him why diplomacy was worth the risks. We ask for nothing except friendship and the promise that you will remember who your allies are. The formal peace negotiations took place aboard the Soul's Hammer, now permanently stationed in Valthic space. The meeting room was designed to accommodate representatives from multiple species, but today only 2 groups mattered. The victorious humans and the defeated Korthok diplomat, Yuri, led the human delegation. She had spent her career negotiating trade agreements and cultural exchanges. This was her first time dictating surrender terms to a conquered empire. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. The terms are non-negotiable, she announced to the Korthok representatives. Your empire's expansion ends today. All conquered populations will be freed. All military forces beyond system defense will be disbanded. Any violation of these terms will result in the immediate resumption of hostilities. The Korthok delegation sat in stunned silence. Their empire had been dismantled in less than 4 months by a species they had considered primitive. The humans had not just defeated them militarily, they had made it impossible for the Korthok to ever threaten anyone again. But the real change was happening throughout the galaxy. In the halls of the Galactic Council, alien diplomats whispered about humanity's military capabilities. The species that had been treated as dangerous outcasts were suddenly the most sought-after allies in known space. Captain Minji commanded the diplomatic vessel New Soul as it traveled between star systems, carrying trade offers and alliance proposals. Every major civilization wanted to establish closer ties with Earth. Some offered technology exchanges, others proposed mutual defense pacts. A few simply wanted to ensure they would never become Earth's enemies. Captain, her communication officer, reported, "We have received formal requests for meetings from the Zentari Federation, the Crystalline Hegemony, and the Nomad clans. They all want to discuss security arrangements." Minji studied the star charts on her navigation display. Word of humanity's military power was spreading faster than their ships could travel. The galaxy was realizing that the quiet species from the dangerous world had become the strongest military force in known space. "Send acknowledgments to all requests," she ordered. "Tell them Earth is willing to discuss mutual defense agreements with any peaceful civilization." The transformation was most visible in the Galactic Council chambers. On the neutral world of Harmony Station, for 50 years, humanity had held a minor seat with limited voting rights. They were tolerated but not respected. Today, Council Chairman Vexilor announced a historic decision. The Galactic Council officially recognizes humanity as a Tier 1 military power. Earth is hereby offered a permanent seat on the Security Council with full authority over matters of galactic peace and security. The alien delegates applauded politely, but everyone understood the real meaning. Humanity had not just won a war. They had rewritten the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Sun Ho accepted the offer on behalf of Earth. With one critical condition: any unprovoked attack on peaceful species will be considered an attack on humanity itself. Earth's military will respond accordingly. The message was clear. Bullies and conquerors were no longer welcome in civilized space. On Valthic Prime, the first annual Liberation Day celebration was in full swing. Human Marines who had participated in the liberation stood honor guard alongside Valthic security forces. Children from both species ran through the plaza, their laughter echoing off the rebuilt buildings. Ambassador Dalsu watched the celebration from the balcony of his new embassy. The building had been constructed with both human and Valthic architectural elements. a symbol of the friendship that had grown from shared struggle. Sir, his aide approached. You have a communication from Earth Command. They want to know if you need any additional security for the celebration. Dal Su shook his head. Look around. Do you see any threats to Valthic security? High above the planet, human patrol ships maintained their vigilant watch. The UES Titan's Wrath, commanded by Captain Hyanwu, led a squadron of destroyers on their regular patrol route. These ships were no longer just protectors of Valthic space. They were symbols of Earth's commitment to defending peaceful civilizations. Captain, Navigator Soman reported, we are receiving a priority transmission from the Outer Rim. Another species is requesting assistance against raiders. Hyanwu smiled grimly. Signal Earth Command. Tell them we have another situation that requires the human touch. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth about humanity. They came from a world that had tried to kill them every day for millions of years. They had survived ice ages and supervolcanic eruptions. They had endured wars that killed hundreds of millions and emerged stronger than before. Most importantly, they remembered who their friends were, and they never forgot their enemies. In the rebuilt capital of Valthic Prime, a monument stood in the central plaza. The inscription was written in both Valthic script and human English. They asked for help. We gave them hope. We gave them justice. We gave them peace. Below the inscription, a simple statement in the angular letters of Earth's common language. Humanity remembers. The Korthok Empire had learned too late that there was a difference between civilization and survival. The galaxy's peaceful species had found protectors who understood that sometimes peace could only be achieved through superior firepower. Earth's fury had been unleashed upon those who preyed on the weak, and the stars themselves had taken notice.